All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Um, Typically I sit here and wait for people to get on, but I was watching Lisa's video yesterday and she had a good point. Like, people are watching this later, so I figured just start talking from the time it comes on, even though it is a little awkward that you're kind of talking to yourself at the moment. Looking at the bigger picture that it's going to be watched later is an easier way to go about it. So I'm going to jump right into things today. I every time I do these every day, I talk about it. I kind of try to look for some inspiration as to what I'm going to talk about that day, based on things that happen in my morning or things that I see or read, maybe even hear. Sometimes I listen to music in the morning, um, you know, and today I was inspired by a few different things, or a couple different things, I should say. One of them, was my inspiration card for the day, or my intention card for the day, which was renewal. And I've been going through some things. We'll get more into why that inspired me later, but it definitely kind of went hand in hand with something that I was thinking about already. Another thing was one of the people in my life was talking to me about, her need to connect with other humans, and things, being in our own funk and being in our own stuff, and not reaching out to other people and asking how other people are doing, knowing that that's something that helps us. And one of the things that we worry about and weigh on our minds are, how are the people in our lives doing? We talked a lot about that yesterday, but that also kind of went hand in hand with what I was thinking about this morning. And then, I read two readings this morning, which I'm going to share with you guys, and I liked both of them, So instead of picking between one or the other, I decided to read them both today, and we'll discuss it openly. I encourage you again to get involved and absolutely communicate with me and talk to me about it. Leave your comments or what you're thinking about or anything you want to discuss. This is for you, So we'll dive right in with the first reading, which is from the Demi Lovato book that I've read very frequently throughout these videos, Staying Strong. Sarah, hello, hey. Hi, Ashley. That's only two people that it's shown me has joined in, even though I see that there's 4 or 5 of you guys, but hello, everybody. So April 7th. We're all just works in progress. That's a quote from a Mary J. Blige song, apparently. Nobody ever said you have to have it all figured out, because I promise you nobody does. What matters most is to keep working on yourself, keep allowing yourself to heal, grow, learn, and stay humble. Whenever you feel like your work is done, start all over again and remember that all of it is worth it. Goal. Think about how you are a work in progress. Think about how much you have changed in the last year. Imagine how you'll continue to change each year for the rest of your life. What is something about yourself that you can work on today? And that I really liked, because we are all works in progress, and everybody that I work with and talk to, we all struggle with this idea that we have to have everything figured out, our recovery, our job, whatever it might be. For me, when I came home last year and a half ago now, it's been a while, geez. But when I came home, I had this idea that I had to have it all together immediately to prove to everyone that I wasn't going to go back to where I came from. And, that led me down a very dark path. It led me to just getting material things, to prove myself. I had to have the house, I had to have the car, I had to have, the money, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on. And it led me to forget about the stuff that matters, that day-to-day growth that, we all have. And the truth is, really, I wasn't growing for a while. Sure, I was changing, and sure, I was going through things, and I was learning. Absolutely. I don't regret it. Not at all, But I didn't actually start changing and growing and becoming a better human being until I let that stuff go. I started focusing on me as a person and my behaviors and, the things that I do every day outside of the things that I have every day. And I've learned over this, I'd say like 8 months, probably it's been now, that it is a constant work in progress, and that's okay. I talked about it a little bit yesterday, the humanism that comes along with everybody, and the humanity of it all. And that's a beautiful thing. I've said it before. It really is a beautiful thing that we have that ability to change and grow every day. And today I'm able to sit here and say that I'm grateful that I'm not done growing. I'm grateful that I have that ability every day to learn something different, change a little bit, and again, I've talked about this too numerous times. I'm not perfect. I'm far from, I fall short all the time, but that I find beauty in it today. I really do. My favorite times in life, once I get through it, of course, are the times that I struggled and that I had to reach out and I had to lean on certain things in my life, whether that be my supports or my personal preferences on things that help me get through, mutual aid groups or spirituality, music, whatever it looks like for me. The times that I had to really get down to my basics and down to the nitty gritty and rely on that stuff and learn and change and grow. Looking back on my life, those are my favorite times when I came out on the other side and I made that change. And I am who I am today because of all of that stuff. And I have so much more work to do, but I'm happy about it. I don't know, I read that this morning and I shared it with somebody on the phone this morning, and, it really spoke to both of us, and I'm sure it can speak to a lot of people, getting stuck in that idea that I should have it all figured out. I shared about it yesterday when I was talking to my coworkers. Like, I feel like because of how much recovery I have or the job that I do or whatever the case might be, that I have to be this perfect human being and have it all figured out and have all the answers, and that's just a huge weight that I put on myself that at the end of the day will hold me down. It'll keep me from changing and growing and being the best version of myself. So that was my first one that I wanted to share with you guys. Feel free to comment on that as I continue. Absolutely, I can come back to it, discuss it further if we need to. Sometimes my computer doesn't show me comments right away, which I don't really know why or who's on there, so I apologize if I missed something. But I will look at it afterwards as well and catch up on anything that may not have shown up right away. But please jump in, get involved. So the second one that I decided to read is based on the fact that, and I think I shared this yesterday too, I recently went through the loss of some people in my life and a lot of family stuff going on, like any other human out there right now. There's a lot going on in my life, a lot of change, a lot of uncomfortability, a lot of loss. And I came across a reading in the same book that I used yesterday. It's the I've Been Thinking book, which is based on reflections, prayers, meditations, and meaningful life. And again, just a disclaimer from that, this isn't reflecting like ROCovery's views or even my personal views. It's just a book that, I've found some very significant and applicable readings in, and I'd love to share them with you guys as we continue and move forward. I just got this book not too long ago from a friend of mine, and I found that I really like a lot that she talks about in here, and I can relate to a lot of it. So I hope that you guys can too. So the reading that I decided on out of this book is called It's Okay, in fact, It's Crucial to Grieve. And she says, grief can surge back like a rogue wave, even when the person looks just fine on the outside. Change is in the air. My kids are out of the house now and on their own way. Everywhere I look, I see and I feel change. And change often involves grief. Grief, that 5-letter word. You can grieve the death of a loved one. A friendship may be lost and you grieve. You lose a job and you grieve. A relationship breaks up. A child leaves home. It's all loss. It's all change. It can all trigger grief. And how do you deal with it? There's no right way to grieve, and it's important to know that your way is okay. Why? Because grief is something we all experience, but don't always discuss. It comes at you at different times in all kinds of ways. Millions go through this every day, often away from solace, sensitivity, or support. I know grief in its many forms, not just following the deaths of family members and friends, but also in the feelings of loss that come with the inevitable life changes we all endure. In my struggle to sort through the sweeping mix of emotions that come with grief, I've found myself endlessly grateful for the amount of thinking Elizabeth Kubler-Ross put into the subject. That's because I grew up in a family that experienced lots of tragedy and loss, but no one ever discussed it. They all just put their heads down and powered on through. So as a child, and then later on, I moved through these terrible experiences pretty much alone, trying to make sense of the losses without any guidance or framework for how to understand them. Decades later, I realized I was still trying to process what had happened, and I thought to myself that there must be a better way. Then my grandmother died. My kids had so many questions. Their questions made me realize that I was just as childlike in my understanding of grief as they were. So I felt the need to address the curiosity we all have about loss in its many forms, including grieving a pet. Thus was born my children's book about grief, What's Heaven? People thought this book wouldn't sell, and then it went on to tremendous success, proving just how thirsty our culture is for the conversation about loss and how we cope with it. Then years later, my mother died. I had always been terrified that if anything ever happened to her, I would never be able to survive. When she passed, I experienced the true depths of grief. But unlike what I saw my relatives do when I was growing up, heads down, powering on through, I now actually felt this tremendous loss, and it brought me to my knees. Then 2 weeks later, my uncle died, and a year and a half after that, my father died, and my marriage ended. So for several years, I was marinating in grief, and it was an incredibly lonely experience. My world stopped while everything else continued around me. I felt isolated in my grief. I found comfort in others who had experienced the death of a loved one or multiple deaths. Each time I came across someone else's story of grief, I felt a little less alone. Every time I wrote about it, I felt I'd taken a step forward. Whenever I shared my feelings of grief with someone else, I felt less isolated. And every time I read about someone else's experiences overcoming grief, I got inspired to believe that I too would overcome it one day. But I also know that some people never get over the loss of a loved one. They just manage their way through it. Even to this day, I can find myself suddenly surprised by tears of grief for an old loss. But I now have the awareness of what it is and the knowledge that I can get through it again, and I do. Being able to experience grief has made me brave. In opening up to it and allowing myself to really feel it, I grew stronger. But in order to do that, I needed to hear the message that it's okay, and in fact crucial, to feel your grief. Grieving is real, it's an unavoidable part of the human condition, and we don't need to suppress it in order to survive it. One of the reasons that I decided to read that is because of, obviously, we're all experiencing grief. We're all experiencing loss of some sort, whether it's, your job or your family, loved ones that are going through whatever's going on right now. Our routines, primarily our routines, a lot of us are thrown into the wayward unknown. And I don't know if we recognize that that is a grieving process, coming to terms of acceptance with it and understanding it. And I also don't know that all of us, including myself, know that it's okay to grieve that however we're going to grieve it. And I think reading that, I've kind of went through my own version of a grieving process over the past few weeks. I've been isolated, even though I don't need to be. Like, I can get on the computer, I can get on the phone, but I've went out of my way to be more isolated than what's necessary. Yes, I need to stay inside. Yes, I need to be responsible. But that doesn't mean that I need to be in my own dark shell. And I have been. I've watched Netflix for 8 hours a day, most days, over the last 3 weeks. I've avoided talking to people on the phone, like I said, or getting on my support meetings and stuff like that. And I didn't realize probably until I read that this morning, that I was going through that grieving process. And then I had what happened over the weekend happen. And again, I'm finding gratitude in that because of the fact that it lit something inside of me and brought about that awareness, not only with other people in my life, but with myself. And this morning, I woke up early and I got on a video call with somebody to do a workout, and I didn't want to, but I did it. And I have these feelings inside of me today of motivation and inspiration, and they haven't been there. And I don't think I realized that they were missing until today, Um, so what I'm saying and all of that is like I was going through that grieving process, and that was okay. I didn't feel great about myself. I could have done, I could have, should have, would have, I could do that all day. I could sit here and tell myself I could have done this, I could have done that. But I'm realizing that it's okay that I went through that. Now I'm coming out of it, and that's what matters. That was my way of coping with it. That was my way of protecting myself from not, going completely off the deep end. I mean, there's a reason for it. There's a reason that I had to shut down. There's a reason. And I may not see that reason right now. I don't. All I can think of is to protect myself. And I know that a lot of us, like I said, are going through a lot of those same feelings, that same isolation, that same scare, And yes, he's actually pretty calm right now, Mo. Sorry, Mo just commented, sleepy kitty. I'm really happy that he's calm right now. It's probably because during my workout this morning, he thought it was a game and he was climbing me while I was doing planks and stuff. It was an interesting workout. But usually right now is his time to act out, so I'm really happy that he's just calm right now. But yeah, anyway, so I know that we're all going through it, and I thought it would be a great topic to bring about and bring awareness to, that this is a grieving process, and I didn't recognize it, so I'm sure that there's other people out there who aren't seeing it like that, and it is, and it's okay how we're dealing with it. It's okay that we haven't been reaching out as much as we should be, or could be, or whatever words you want to put to it. It's okay that we've shut down and we're, spending time at home. It's okay, The only thing I can say about that, as far as my experience goes, is like, if you don't feel okay inside about it, which I didn't, I don't feel okay about the fact that I just sat there for weeks, then we have the option to take an action and do something different, It takes some motivation. It does. Like I said, I didn't want to get up this morning and work out, but I feel great right now. I feel like I'm getting back on a somewhat routine. I have plans to continue to do that 10 o'clock workout over FaceTime with a friend of mine. I have a protein shake, which I haven't had in weeks because I didn't need to. I wasn't working out, so why would I drink them? I can't tell you how happy this made me this morning. It's insane. But it's that soul stuff that I talk about all the time. That's what feeds my soul. And I have other ways of grieving with things too. That isn't my only way. Isolation isn't my only way. Working out is a way. Going on walks is a way. Music is a way that I cope. A huge way that I cope. Writing, sometimes I've gotten out of that a little bit, but I used to write a lot, and that's something that I could try again. In any way that we cope with it, it's okay. It's hard to get through that stuff. It really is. I think it's hard with any type of loss, and then you add in all of these factors that are going on right now in the world that we live in today, which are, all of these changes on top of family stuff still happens. Life is still happening. Regardless of social isolation, life is still happening. I mean, I have 2-3 family members that are going through health stuff, friends that are falling off, people that are returning to use, stuff like that. All of these things are happening, and on top of that, I'm going through my own changes, and it's heavy. It's really heavy, so I just today, I just wanted to bring some light to it. I just wanted to open the door that we can talk about this stuff. I know that it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for me to be sitting here talking about it and admitting it, in a public forum. But, I really hope that it encourages some of you to do the same, and reach out and talk about these things. It's completely normal. You are not alone at all, not even close, Like I said, all of us are experiencing some sort of loss right now. She had said something in here. Oh, she said in here, I grew up in a family that experienced lots of tragedy and loss, but no one ever discussed it. For a long time, that was my way. That was my way of dealing with all of it. And I talked about when I came home a year and a half ago, and I did that. I did that all the way through prison. I did it through my use. I did it through everything. I put a smile on my face and I kept going. I did 3 years in prison. This was one of my biggest. That's why I talk about it so much, is I did my 3 years in prison and I came home and I had a smile on my face. And I would tell people, yeah, I just came home from prison. And they'd say, well, how long were you in there? Well, 3 years. And they would have this look on their face of like shock and awe, and to me, I was like, what? It wasn't even, it was 3 years. Who cares? I really played it off like it just didn't matter. And that was a contributing factor to my downward spiral that came 3 short months after I got home. I never addressed it. I never talked about it, and I still to this day get caught up in the like, well, everybody's going through it, so why should I feel any different, or why should I be upset? This person's going through worse things than I am, so why do I have a right to feel the way I feel? Or that breakup wasn't that serious. Why should it bother me? We were only together for 5 minutes. Whatever. I have a very bad habit of minimalizing the things that should and do affect me as a human. It's normal. I say should because it is normal that these things bother us. It's normal that it's hard to deal with. But the hope in all of that is that we all go through it. And most of us have been through the same experiences. They might, like I said yesterday, I talked about it a little bit, they might look different. My demon might not be your demon, but the feelings are all the same, and we're in this together. And that's where my hope comes in. Like my hope and my inspiration, my motivation is, the fact that I have a lot of people that are there, and I can get on stuff like this and watch other people's videos that they're putting up right now. I can get into meetings. I can have Zoom calls with my family. I can do all this stuff and know that we're all going through it together, and the best thing that we can do right now is be there for one another. It's going hand in hand with my talk yesterday. And one of the ways that we can be there for other people is being honest with them about how we're feeling. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. If I'm honest with people about how I'm feeling, it opens the door for them to talk to me too. My family might be struggling and maybe they want to keep a strong face for me. But if I call them and I talk to them about what I'm struggling with, maybe they're going to open up to me. Maybe the random people that I see out and about when I do have to go out there are going through something. I really make it a point to be as kind and friendly and opening and inviting to people that I come in contact with, for that reason. I've read, this is kind of off topic, but I've read articles prior about like certain jobs that aren't great in the human race, that have like high suicide rates and stuff like that. And now forever, whenever I drive through a toll booth, I am extra nice to them people because I've read articles and statistics that they don't have, the best outcomes in their jobs. My point in saying that ramble is, we don't know what other people are going through, and sharing our experiences with people and being open and honest and acknowledging our problems helps people open up to us. But so my action intention for today, I have renewal for my intention word, but I'm going to tie that into starting something different today. Thank you for commenting, Maria. Transparency is always best. I agree with you. I lived a life for like 20 years that was all lies, manipulation, and the face that I wanted you to see. All different types of masks. And I've never felt as free as I do today when I know that I don't have any baggage back there that you're going to find out if you dig somewhere. I don't have anything to hide from you. I'm a very open book. No, I don't over disclose, unless I need to find it suiting. But I'm an open book. People obviously know most of my life. I'm grateful for that today. I'm as genuine as I can be with the people in my life. And I'm also learning too to talk about this stuff that I don't think should matter. And it does matter. It does matter. You matter. I matter. It matters. So yeah, I'm going to tie my renewal into trying something different today, which is going to be acknowledging that stuff, and hopefully bringing myself out of this funk, by taking a different action. Like I said this morning, waking up early, doing a workout. I'm going to try to eat. I forget to eat a lot, and do the next right thing that's going to help me get out of it. Addressing that grief today, addressing it. And it's going to look different. It's going to, I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to work out. I'm going to go for walks. I'm going to listen to music. There's going to be a lot of pieces that go into this, but the intention is to deal with that grief that I'm dealing with, that I haven't talked about, and haven't opened up about. And I really hope that you guys can do the same. You know, I really, really implore you to open up to somebody, even if you feel like it's dumb, if you feel like, you know, we're all going through it, so you shouldn't, you know, talk about it, whatever the case might be. Please put that stuff aside and just talk to somebody about it today. Let somebody in, let somebody be there for you. Okay, I think that's all that I have. If there's comments that I missed, I will get back to them, but please reach out. There are posts on the Facebook page for ROCovery Fitness that have all of our contact information on them. Facebook Messenger for ROCovery, and Facebook message me personally. I am open 100% to being there for you guys. You know, and it helps me. Again, I say it every day, and I mean it with every ounce of my soul that it helps me. So please reach out and talk to somebody about it today. And I hope you all have a good day. It looks like it's sunny outside. I'm going to go outside and get some sunshine in my life because that helps me too. Of course, I'm going to do it responsibly. But yeah, get outside, talk to people. And I hope you have a good day. Bye, guys.